Listener in Fort Worth named Terry writes in. Here's what Terry has to say. I know you've talked about poverty and the homeless before. But I was watching Oprah. And Oprah was talking about the working poor and the homeless. And every one of these people had kids. Would you please address these? Because here's the thing. These people with 3 or 4 kids wondering how they got in this situation and not having a clue. No one will say to these people, why did you have kids if you were living in such poverty? Terry of Fort Worth says, I know you will say it when no one else will. You know me all too well, Terry. That's the politically incorrect thing to say. You're not supposed to say to people, hey, you know, maybe if you're homeless, maybe you should have closed your legs. Maybe instead of humping out there on top of the dumpster, maybe you should have been out trying to find a place to get a shower and a hot meal, maybe a job. What are you doing? Nobody wants to say that. And nobody wants to say what I'm about to say. And keep in mind, I'm saying it as somebody who would have been a member of the affected class, as they like to say in the legal profession. I'm saying this as somebody who grew up in poverty. One of 4 children living in a 1-bedroom apartment in an $80 a month place in the Bronx. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making that up. It's 100% true. It wasn't until well after my 10th birthday that we moved out of that place and moved to a house in the suburbs in some white trash neighborhood that problem was alleviated. But until I was almost 11 years old, I lived in 1 bedroom, first alone, then with a sister, then with 2 sisters, and finally, in the straw that broke the camel's back, then my brother was born, and then there were 4 of us living in 1 room. We had twin beds. My 2 sisters slept in one of the twin beds. I slept in the other. And then my little brother slept in a crib in the corner of the same exact room. 4 of us in 1 room. My parents slept on a Castro convertible sofa bed in the living room. It's really my opinion that if you're poor, you should stop cranking out the children. The unbelievable situation we have is that the poorer people are, the more children they have. And somehow, either because they've been dictated to by a church or just because they're dopier than the rest of us, somehow they can't see that the more children you have, the more in poverty you're going to be. The closer to the edge you're going to get. Perhaps if you don't have a career together, perhaps if you aren't making good money at a steady job, perhaps if you haven't had time to put some savings away, it's not time for you to be having children. Perhaps even if you had an accident and got knocked up once, maybe that's the time to go down to the local family planning clinic like a Planned Parenthood and learn about birth control since you clearly never learned about it before. Nobody wants to say this. If you are poor, you shouldn't be having kids. And take this a step further. Not just because you shouldn't be fulfilling your own little fantasy there and possibly putting yourself close towards living in the street, but also because it's not fair to the kids. Just because you're used to living poor and unsuccessful at anything doesn't mean it's good for your kids. And frankly, it wasn't even good for you. When you're poor, you're more likely to grow up around violence, alcoholism, drug addiction, molestation, and other problems that are germane to having more responsibility than you can handle. You shouldn't be doing it. If you're poor, it's time to turn off the baby-making machine. It's time to stop until you get out of poverty. Well, you'll never see touchy-feely Oprah ever saying that. Or very many other people. Everybody has a right to have kids. You shouldn't have to be rich to have children. I'm not saying rich. But if you've got credit card debts, you're too poor to have children. Because you're paying 18% a year. In fact, if you're poor, you probably have lousy credit in most cases. You're paying 18% or more interest on those credit cards. If you don't have zero debt, aside from maybe a mortgage or a car loan, you can't afford it. For your sake or their sake, you can't afford it. Why aren't people willing to say this? And when we feel sorry for homeless people with 3 or 4 kids, aren't we really saying we're feeling sorry for the Forrest Gumps of the world, for the Rain Mans of the world? Really, we're talking about the people who are just too stupid to know any better? I mean, you got to be stupid. If you're living out on the street and you're pregnant, or you're living out on the street and you've got, like, infants, you're just stupid. It's not society that's being unfair to you, or the government that's being unfair to you, or people are being unfair to you. You're dumb. What would you have to offer an employer? You dope? I think it's pretty obvious why some people are in poverty. It's because they start off in poverty, then they start cranking out children they can't afford. Is there anything wrong with saying that?
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM.
I don't think you're anything like your air personality.
Maybe this is just a small slice of the whole pie.
Good or bad?
I guess I have to leave that up to the rest of humanity to decide.
The Tom Leykis Show.
The Tom Leykis Show. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. It's Keith on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, how you doing today?
Doing okay, Keith.
Hey, it's a perfect problem that you're addressing. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona, and we have the homeless families off of every off-ramp of the freeways begging for money as you turn to go home into your neighborhoods, surrounding the local malls and strip malls, going up to women when they pull into the local Circle K's, to the point where they don't even want to get out of the car because they're right up on their window with their hand out. And it's a problem that's made a lot of people uncomfortable, but a lot of people aren't addressing it properly. They continue to roll down their windows, give these bums on the sides of the road dollar bills.
Yeah, I don't give them anything, ever.
Oh, me neither. I boo the people that give them money. I shake my head at them and give them thumbs down.
Idiots. People are idiots who give money to people on the street. They're idiots. The vast majority of people on the street use that money to buy drugs or alcohol. And that doesn't mean I don't contribute to charity. It doesn't mean I don't give money to friends of mine who are in trouble. It means I don't give money to strangers who walk up to me on the street. Forget it.
Exactamundo. I couldn't agree with you more.
Thanks, Keith.
Thank you.
Appreciate the call. 1-800-5800-TOM. Tyler on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Tyler.
Hey, yeah, I got a family situation kind of. I got an uncle who's constantly in and out of jail and on the streets, and every time he seems to come back around, he seems to get back with his wife or his girlfriend, and they end up knocking her up and having another kid.
Uh-huh.
And the fact is, like, he can't even support himself, and now every time he comes back, he has to somehow support another kid every time she gets pregnant. And it's really sad. I mean, just not even the fact that it's a family situation, but even when you're walking down the streets and a lady comes up to you with a baby in her arms, give me money, give me all my baby. It's just like, well, it's like, why the hell are they even having kids? They can't even help themselves.
That's right. I do not feel sorry for people out on the street with kids because they shouldn't be having kids.
They absolutely, it's ridiculous. I mean, it's just, why? It's completely stupid. I mean, birth controls are free. They already know they have enough problems in their life, whether it be drugs or they're down on their luck or whatever it is, and they still just want to push out kids looking for a handout thinking that'll help.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree with you, Tyler.
All right, hey, anyway, Tom, nice talking to you. Can you take me out with Thank You, Jesus, Bong Hit and a Screaming Orgasm?
Here you go, Tyler.
Jesus!
Oh, yes! Oh, God, Tom!
1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Lauren on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Yes, sir. Thanks for answering.
Yeah.
One thing that I wanted to add to the point is that being from the I live in San Diego now, but being from the Midwest, people in the Midwest can be poor and raise children.
Why do you say that about people in the Midwest?
Well, I just think there's a whole different lifestyle that goes on in the Midwest rather than the West Coast.
Well, then maybe they should all go to the Midwest.
I agree.
All the homeless people go to the Midwest.
All the poor people go to the Midwest.
But when you say the Midwest, are you saying Chicago?
Nah, I'm saying Missouri, Kansas.
Oh, so you're saying the Plains states or something.
The Bible Belt.
Yeah, but even then, you're not doing kids a favor by having them if you can't afford to properly house them, feed them, and educate them.
Well, that's the thing. The education thing is the catchy part of the whole thing. Public education in the Midwest seems to be better than public education on the West Coast, especially California.
And what about college?
College is different. You come out here, you go to school.
Well, your kids should be able to go to college, too.
All kids should be able to go to college?
I do believe, unless you're raising Forrest Gump, your kid ought to be going to college.
No, I agree. All kids should have the right.
Granted, if your kid has less than a 3-digit IQ, maybe he shouldn't. But generally speaking, kids ought to be going to college, at least for some kind of training.
Oh, I agree. I'm an educator myself. People in the Midwest, though, if you do not plan on going to college, there's occupation, jobs.
Well, then there must not be a homeless problem in the Midwest, right?
There's not as big a homeless problem, no.
Yeah, well.
No, not at all, actually.
I definitely think that homeless people should not be coming to places like New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Miami, or any place else where it's expensive to live. Stay in the cheaper places.
You're absolutely right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. Lauren, thank you. I appreciate the call. Here's Jamie on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom, I just wanted to say I really agree with you 100% on this topic. I'm 23. I have a 5-year-old. I have a 10-month-old. I'm married. Me and my husband, together, we make a 6-figure income. We can take care of our kids greatly, even though we're young. And in Phoenix here, the poverty level is just extremely bad. I know people that, for instance, I know a girl that was 16. She got pregnant. Could barely raise her own kid. She's 18. She's popping out another one, living off of the government. It's like, why am I working 40 to 50 hours a week and raising my family, and my husband is too, and here you are living off of my taxes?
And then asking me for money.
Yeah. And it's like, what are you doing?
I did not work so hard so I could hand my money out to strangers. I just didn't.
Right. And then on top of it, you got Governor Janet Napolitano here in Phoenix, who is trying to make things change for the poor people. And I'm thinking, if we could just get that border wall up from Mexico, that would alleviate a lot of the problems. Because we have so many immigrants here that get to live off of my taxes, off of my hard-earned money.
You know what, though? I don't even agree on that. I'm going to tell you why. Because I believe most immigrants who come to the United States are working. Now, they may be working illegally, but they're working. And, by the way, paying taxes. The people I see out in the street are Caucasian.
Well, in Phoenix, and you don't live here.
Let me tell you something, Jamie. We've got more Mexicans in Los Angeles than you could ever dream of in Phoenix, okay? Right. And I'm telling you, homeless people are generally Caucasian and secondarily black. I see very few homeless Latinos because Latinos will find a way to get it done. I just don't think that Latinos are the problem.
Well, they may or may not be, and I'm not just being specific to them because trust me, I agree with you. It's blacks, it's whites, it's Hispanics, it's all of the majority.
But what I'm saying is most homeless people I see when I drive around Skid Row in Los Angeles, they're Caucasian.
And see, where I drive, my drive from work to home, halfway there, I'm seeing the majority of all of them. Well, actually, it's a mixture of them, in grocery carts with 3 kids under the age of 5, and she's pregnant. She looks like she's ready to pop again. And here they are walking their groceries from the grocery store to only God knows where.
Well, they might be walking them home. You're assuming they're homeless.
Right. You're assuming they're homeless, but either way, if you can't afford a car...
The people asking me for money are primarily white and secondarily black.
Right. Well, maybe for you, but I know the majority of the people that I know...
So the majority of people who ask you for money are Latino?
Yes.
Well, here in L.A., where more than half the population is Latino, city of Los Angeles, more than half, I'm not seeing that.
Well, you're from L.A. and I'm not.
Well, I did live in Phoenix for 3 years. Don't get me wrong. I lived in Phoenix for 3 years.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Oh, okay.
And then I saw, when I was in Phoenix, I also saw a large number of Native Americans hanging around outside the Circle K.
Oh, definitely downtown.
Right.
Definitely
well, who you might mistake for Mexicans, but they're not.
No, you can't mistake them.
All right, well, you know what I'm talking about.
Right, I know what you're talking about. But I just wanted to say I'm a short-time listener. You haven't been in Phoenix that long. And
No, but I lived in Phoenix for 3 years, dear. I lived right there.
Right.
Lived there. I lived at a house in Sunny Slope. Believe me, I know Phoenix inside out.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I used to work downtown, so I saw the homeless people.
Oh, yeah, it's bad. It's really bad, and it's just getting worse.
Yeah. First Avenue and, Jefferson.
Yes, the park. Right
down there. Believe me, I'm well aware.
Yep, it's real bad. So I just wanted to say thanks, and, I love the topic, and I don't agree with you 100% all the time, but 95% of the time I do, and the other times at least I get a good laugh.
Well, we both agree that people who are poor or homeless should stick a cork in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Bye.
Appreciate the call. 1-800-5800-TOM. Bridget on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I have a different viewpoint about the poor and the fact that they have children. I think that no matter what country, third world country, regardless, poor people seem to always have children. It seems to be a primitive desire to have sex that people will do no matter...
No, it has nothing to do with having sex. I have a primitive desire to have sex. And I'm a primitive wild man when I have my bedroom door locked, okay? It's not the primitive desire to have sex. It's the primitive desire to have sex without taking any precautions.
Yeah, but it seems to be something that poor people have in common is that they often reproduce themselves.
Because they're stupid and lazy.
Not because they're stupid and lazy.
Yes. It has to be said. Yes, it's because they're stupid and lazy.
They have nothing else going but the...
Whose fault is that?
To give in to their passions.
Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that?
They're just focusing in on the pleasure and they're not thinking about...
Whose fault is that?
It's the society at whole.
Oh, it's my fault. I see. What did I do to cause that problem?
In our country, we always want to point finger as to why the poor are poor. The poor will always...
No, I don't point the finger anywhere except at yourself. You are where you belong in life. You make the money you deserve. You have the job you deserve.
How about
and you live at the address you deserve to live at.
How about circumstances that change? For instance, to give you an example, someone who was married used to... being taken care of.
Let me tell you something. If I found myself homeless, step one, I wouldn't impregnate anybody. Step two, I wouldn't start sticking a needle in my arm.
Yeah, but see, that's to me that's
because I'm smarter than they are.
But you're not talking. But the group of people you're not talking about are necessarily the drug addicts or the.
Many of them are drug addicts or alcoholics or have some other problem.
Yeah, there's no excuse for other than not knowing where to help oneself.
Yeah, well, how about step one?
They don't have...
Stop having babies.
Another thing, Tom, is they probably don't have, like you said, the Latinos, this lady was going on, but the fact is Latinos have a support system. They support each other. And Caucasians, like you mentioned, and blacks in our country are pretty much individualistic, kind of like...
All right,
yourself.
so then step one, don't be having babies if you're poor.
But poor people are going to...
By the way, I'm not seeing, like Ellen Barkin out on the street after she's married to Ron Perlman. Oh, God, she's been abandoned. She's been divorced.
She got some good alimony.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, you're not seeing wealthy, successful people who suddenly come upon hard times living out on the street.
Well, you know what? If you take middle class and upper to lower middle class that can easily happen.
It only easily happens when you run your Visa card up to $20,000 and you borrow all the equity in your home. And then you have a car accident or something like that, and you go, oh, my God, I don't have a support system. Whose fault is that?
Well, if you're if you're thrown into a situation for all of a sudden you're a single mother with kids, for example, and...
Well, I tell people they shouldn't be single mothers with kids, and they shouldn't be having kids unless they've got a father for those kids who's going to stay around.
No, I'm saying if you got divorced and you're thrown into a circumstance where...
No one is thrown into this circumstance.
Yes, you are.
Wrong. No.
You're able to get
Well, how come I'm not in that circumstance?
Well, because you, Tom, you obviously opportunity met circumstances.
No, dear. No, wrong. You make opportunities. This is not luck. I didn't win lotto, dear.
In a way, you worked hard. You worked hard. Someone had to see something in you.
No, but before I ever became financially successful in this business, I kept my debts down to a minimum, almost zero most of the time.
Really?
I didn't spend money I didn't have. I didn't impregnate women and say, oh, go ahead and have the baby. That'll be fine. We'll figure it out. Like poor, stupid people do.
Who taught you that?
Nobody, because my parents had 4 kids, and they were...
Who taught you not to go into debt and not to do that? Where did you learn it?
It's just common sense among anybody with a brain, and that's why I'm saying people who do this are stupider than the rest of us.
So you have that, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah, because they're stupid. You see, it's so politically incorrect to say these people are dense, but they're dense.
Well, they are, but still...
All right, you finally said it. 5 minutes into the call, and you finally admitted that the people who are homeless and poor are stupid. They're not as smart as you are. They're not, because you're not living on the street, and they are.
But they made bad choices.
That's right. They made bad choices because why? They're stupid. That's why.
Well, you can only do as good as your...
So what we're really saying here is that we should feel sorry for the dumb.
You can only do as good as your parents have taught you to do, and then
dear. My parents knew nothing about managing money or being successful in business. Nothing.
I know. So you were thrown into having to learn real quick.
No. I have a high IQ. I'm smart, and I'm smarter than homeless people who are stupid.
Exactly.
That's my point. You're talking about feeling sorry for the stupid.
Yeah, you have an IQ, but not all of us.
All right, that's my point. So what you're saying is what I'm saying. The homeless people are stupid.
Yeah, in a way.
Not in a way. In every way.
They didn't have the wherewithal to be able to get...
They didn't have any brains. They're stupid.
All right, Tom, you're right once again.
I know, dear.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866.
Do you have a nice rack?
You would like to know, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
And what would that do for you?
I'd probably pitch a tent here in the studio.
The Tom Leykis Show.
The Tom Leykis Show from Los Angeles. 1-800-5800-TOM. Keith on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Good.
So, I got a theory about why the poor people are having so many kids, and first of all, it scares me to death that the poorest people in society are the ones that are breeding the most. And I think it's a global problem.
Because they're the stupidest.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I think the reason why is, in the past there was, a big division. There was not very much middle class, say, more than 70 years ago. So we needed all these kids to work on the farm. We need people to build infrastructure for a new society. Well, times change. Now there's a middle class, but nobody told the poor people. So they nobody's been on a farm in 50 years in this country, save the few remaining farmers who are out there. And most of the people who are living homeless have never been to a farm. I would agree. They didn't need to have kids. They were never taught they needed to have kids in order to work the dumpsters or beg for money. But there was also kind of an infrastructure being built. When you look at the city, it's, construction workers, it's, just lower-class people to work in restaurants to serve the upper class, essentially. Well, and why is that? Because the upper class have brains, in most cases, unless they've inherited their money. They work, they earn, they save. They don't have children they can't afford. That's why I always say I'm thrilled that so many people come to L.A. try to break into show business, because I'm going to need somebody to lube my car and ask me if I want paper or plastic in the future. Right.
And I don't feel the least bit badly about that because I started off poorer than most people.
Right, but because the poor people are reproducing so quickly, there's more poor people than the upper class needs.
Boo-hoo-hoo.
They end up on the street.
Well, you know what? No amount of boo-hoo-hooing or handing out money to drug addicts and alcoholics on the street is going to change that.
I'm not saying that it is. I think that there just needs to be a big push for education.
Education is there for everybody. When I was dirt poor, I went to school.
More specifically, education on how not to reproduce when you are poor and unable to.
Believe me, there is so much education on that out there. People just don't have the brains or the willpower to read or to pay any attention.
Or it's bad targeting. You know, you plaster those things on the inside of a dumpster, maybe the message gets through.
Yeah, I'm sure people are going to be sitting inside the dumpster eating thrown-out Kentucky Fried Chicken bones, and they're reading about preventing pregnancies.
Right. Well, that was my theory. Maybe some of the listeners will agree with it.
I just think that, step one, folks, dumb as you are, if you're poor, you can't afford any more people living with you. On the street, in an apartment, or anywhere else.
I agree.
Hi, Keith.
Could you blow me up?
Of course I can. 1-800-5800-TOM. It's Nick on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hi.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
I just wanted to give a call and comment on the current topic. It seems to me that, I can empathize with people that are just too stupid for their own good and make bad decisions. I can empathize with those types. But it seems to me that everybody has an idea of what the consequences of their actions are. And it comes down to real negligence, which is one of the reasons why this topic kind of pisses me off, I mean, it's not so much that they're too stupid to understand.
Well, it is that because you don't see a lot of Albert Einsteins living there on top of the trash heap. You know what I'm talking about?
That's true. That's true. But the folks that like, for example, like myself, I've had my fun with the women, and I've been with a girlfriend now for a couple of years, and, we take precaution because we're not in any position to have children, And just because it feels better without a condom, or just because, we want to have sex during a time that may not be so good with her birth control, it's just a matter of us deciding that we're not gonna.
Well, you see that? You think ahead about the consequences, and that's a difference between you and someone who lives on the street.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much.
So, you know what? We're not going to be able to fix this problem until we concede that the homeless are not as smart as we are.
Yeah. I mean, I think the issue is that they need to get first. You know what I mean? They need to care. They need to care first before any progress is made.
Well,
I mean, regardless of
that, you're not going to make a group of people start caring about themselves that never has cared about themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I just want to point that out because, like I said, I empathize with Lenny, the big stupid oaf in of Mice and Men. I empathize with that guy, but these aren't that type. That's not the situation here. These people do not have any serious mental issues, except for the fact that they just don't have any concern for themselves, their well-being, and how their decisions affect themselves in society. And so I just thought that point needed to be brought up since nobody else is bringing it up.
All right, Nick, thank you for that. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. It's Troy on the Tom Leykis Show.
Hello, Tom.
Hello, Troy.
How you doing, bud?
Do you care, Troy?
I care a lot, Tom.
Doing great. Troy is calling from Portland, Oregon, home of the other white meat.
Portland is a terrible city. Just as far as the homeless go, it is ridiculous. They're everywhere, and you're totally right. They are all stupid. No amount of education is going to help these people just because they're stupid. People say, get them educated, get them educated. It doesn't help because these educational programs have been around for a long time. I remember going through them, and they just don't help. It's getting worse.
Well, I don't know if it's getting worse. I just think that in some cities, I think people, homeless people, figure out what cities they can get away with living on the street, and then more of them go there. For example, San Francisco is a good example of a city that pretty much has done nothing. They've argued about it a lot. They've had a lot of debate about it. But when I come to San Francisco and I wander around Union Square or, anywhere up and down downtown San Francisco, when San Francisco's a walking city, and when I'm there, I'm walking. I'm tripping over people every few feet. It's unbelievable.
It really is, Tom. I grew up the exact same way, not the exact same way, but pretty similar to your situation. I grew up also in a one-bedroom apartment, and the only thing I think that really got me through is I'm just smarter than a lot of the people out there. I'm 20 years old. I see a lot of people my age getting married and start popping out kids. It's only so long before their parents stop supporting them just because, parents get sick of it. And then they say, okay, you're on your own. And these people, instead of, putting on a condom, they keep on going at it and have, 8 kids. And then, they got nothing else to do.
Good points, Troy. Thank you for the call.
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM. 1-800-5800-866.
That bitch still ain't Miss USA. She should be slapped in the face.
All right, that's enough. Boys, you can't say the F word on the radio. It's not my rule. I use the F word every hour of every day, except the hours I'm on the radio. Then I only use it during commercial breaks.
It's the Tom Leykis Show.
The Tom Leykis Show, 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Ty on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
Pretty good.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, you're talking about these people being stupid. I mean, they have 10 more intelligence points than the rats. I mean, look at what they do. They dig through the dumpster and they just frickin' hump. I mean, that's all they really know how to do. I know this isn't politically correct or whatnot, but I mean, all the education in the world wouldn't help these people. I mean, they don't take it. They want a handout. They want some rich uncle to die or something so they can inherit some money because they don't want to better them circumstances.
Well, there are people who are not homeless, who are just poor, who have no business having children.
Exactly. Yeah, they look for handouts and they just hump because that's their animal instinct.
Nothing wrong with humping. I love to hump. I hump with a condom.
But exactly,
I hump with chicks who use birth control.
Exactly. It's like when you leave 2 rabbits alone for however long.
Well, wait a minute, Ty. Don't get into the stereotypes. I mean, the bottom line is we all like to hump, and so do you. Okay, we all like it.
Yeah.
The difference between homeless and poor people and you and me is that we wrap it.
Exactly. And the only thing is I mean, they're not smart enough to do that.
Right.
I mean, granted, there are rich people out there who...
Well, they're not smart enough to think ahead about the consequences of your actions.
Exactly.
Or somehow they believe the religious claptrap that God will provide, we'll figure it out down the line or whatever, and it just doesn't work that way. Tyler on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
How you doing, Tom?
Doing okay, Tyler.
Yeah, I was getting some Del Taco down the street from my house, and the homeless guy came up to me, and he's like, hey, I need some, some food for my kids. And I figured, it's Tuesday, 99 cents, or 2 for 99 cents, whatever it was. I'm like, follow me down to Del Taco. He goes, no, my kids don't like tacos. They really want a bucket of chicken.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even believe it. I drive, 2 hours to work. I drive to San Diego from Pomona every day, and I'm like, I work my butt off. I figure I'd be a nice guy, and, they just throw it in your face.
Yeah, well, that'll teach you.
Yeah, definitely. Last time I'm doing that.
No doubt about it, Tyler. Thank you for that. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Let's take the next call here from Bill on the Tom Leykis Show.
At what age and income do you think that people should have kids?
No younger than 25. And frankly, 30's even better. And as far as income level is concerned, You should know what the poverty line is, and you should stay above it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You find out the poverty line very easily. All you homeless people out there, go to the local public library, use a computer, log on to the website of the United States Labor Department, and they will tell you what the poverty level is. Find out what it is. Stay above that. If you're not above it, stop reproducing. It's not complicated. Our email address is my name. It's Tom at blowmeuptom.com.
The Tom Leykis Show.